Hey YouTube, welcome again to my channel. Frugal Samurai here, and today's video is on a question that I hear all the time, and that is, should I buy or rent a place to live? As we all know, the great Australian dream is to buy a place for our own to live, but as property prices around Australia have increased, many of us young people are wondering whether we've missed the opportunity to get onto the property ladder and it makes more financial sense to rent. So what is the best way to go? Well, in this video, I'll go through the pros and cons of buying versus renting to hopefully help you make that financial decision easier. First, let's take a look at the pros of renting. Flexibility. The most obvious advantage is the ability to relocate to another location if and when you choose. Cheaper repayments. In many cases, the rent may be cheaper than the mortgage repayments on the same property. An example may be inner city or beachside locations where it is much easier to rent than it is to buy. There's also no commitment to the mortgage that's owing. No outgoings. In residential tenancies, the landlord is responsible for the rates and fees on the property, as well as being responsible for repairs and maintenance on the property. So those are the main pros, but what about the cons of renting? Well, the main one is paying off someone else's mortgage. This is the most obvious, as all your hard-earned money goes off into paying off someone else's loan. Uncertainty. This is when you are at the whim of the landlord, who may decide to move back in or kick you out because they need to sell the property. You cannot make any changes. Because you don't own the property, you cannot make any changes to the property itself. The same goes with repairs and maintenance. Typically, you will need to wait on the landlord to carry out any repairs and maintenance on the property, unless of course it is of an emergency or essential nature, such as a burst water pipe, for example. Increased rent. Also be aware that historically rent does increase over time as the value of the property increases. Now we've considered renting, what about buying? First, let's take a look at the pros of buying your own property. Stability. Of course, now you own your own home to put up roots. You can also build equity, as each loan repayment goes to building up your equity position if you're on a principal and interest loan. You could also personalize it, because as you are now the legal owner of the property, you can personalize it as you see fit. Buying a property also gives you options, because many people have actually turned their principal place of residence into an investment property later on down the track. So those are the pros, but what about the cons? The most obvious one is the mortgage, which is a very large financial commitment and probably the biggest that you and I will ever encounter. The same goes with paying those pesky interest charges. Also, saving for a deposit is bloody difficult these days as property prices continue increasing. You're also at the whim of the housing market or market volatility, which can be a roller coaster sometimes. So we looked at both the pros and cons of both, but what is the conclusion? Well, as I say, rent money is dead money because you'll never get it back, and at the end of the day, you do not own anything. But buying a property usually involves a mortgage of 30 years, and that's the bulk of our working lives gone just to service that one loan. Oh, but then again, buying a place to call your own and to put up roots doesn't sound too bad though, does it? Ultimately, it all comes down to your life goals and your personal situation, but can I let you in on a little secret? If the rent is cheaper on the mortgage repayments of the same property, then you may want to consider investing the difference elsewhere, such as in the stock market, for example. You also receive income from your investments to buy even more assets to hopefully generate even more income. Otherwise, you can think about becoming what's known as a rent investor. This is where you rent where you want to live, such as a lifestyle location in the inner city or by the water, and you invest where you can afford. The benefits of rent vesting, apart from living where you want to live, is having the ability to move around should you need to. And also usually the ability to save just a bit more than if you just had to service a mortgage, because any interest on loans for an investment property are tax deductible. Whichever way you decide to go, the absolute key is to always find the best use for your money and to always ensure your money is working hardest for you, whether that is by renting to invest elsewhere or to invest in your own home. And remember, if you like this video, do me that big favor, let me know in the comments below, and before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, click on the bell, turn the notification on, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye bye.